All right, we're going to pick up here with chapter 21 in the book of Jasher. If you have your Sefer out, we're going to go ahead and continue our pull through all these scriptures. And it was at the time, at the end of the year and 4 months of Abraham's dwelling in the land of the Philistines in Gerar, that Elohim visited Sarah, and Yahuwah remembered her, and she conceived and bore a son to Abraham. And Abraham called the son of which was born to him, which Sarah bore to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac at 8 days old, as Elohim had commanded Abraham to do unto his seed after him. And Abraham was 100 and Sarah 90 years old when Isaac was born to them. And the child grew up, and he was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast upon the day that Isaac was weaned. And Shem and Eber and all the great people of the land, and Abimelech king of the Philistines, and his servants, and Phicol, the captain of his host, came to eat and drink and rejoice at the feast which Abraham made upon the day of his son Isaac being weaned. So again, Shem and Eber, no mention of Ham or Japheth, but Shem and Eber, which again, these are the lineage of the promised seed. Isaac came through this lineage. Very important, again, to know who is who. It's not trying to be racist or single out anybody, but the Bible is the Bible, and this is why these books were removed. Also, Terah, the father of Abraham, and Nahor, his brother, came from Haran, they and all belonging to them, for they greatly rejoiced on hearing that a son had been born to Sarah. And they came to Abraham, and they ate and they drank at the feast which Abraham made upon the day of Isaac being weaned. And Terah and Nahor rejoiced with Abraham, and they remained with him many days in the land of the Philistines. And at that time Saruch, the son of Ruah, died in the first year of the birth of Isaac, son of Abraham. And all the days of Saruch were 239 years, and he died. And Ishmael, the son of Abraham, was grown up in those days. He was 14 years old when Sarah bore Isaac to Abraham. And Elohim was with Ishmael, the son of Abraham, and he grew up, and he learned to use the bow and became an archer. And when Isaac was 5 years old, he was sitting with Ishmael at the door of the tent. And Ishmael came to Isaac and seated himself opposite to him, and he took the bow and drew it and put the arrow in it and intended to kill Isaac. And Sarah saw the act which Ishmael desired to do to her son Isaac, and it grieved her exceedingly on account of her son. And she sent for Abraham, and she said to him, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for her son shall not be heir with my son, for thus did he seek to do unto him this day. So this is exactly why Abraham put out his side piece, I like to call it, Hagar and her son Ishmael. What we do not know, we do know she was put out, but we don't know that she was put out because Ishmael was trying to kill his baby brother when he was 14 years old, and Ishmael was a baby. And Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarah, and he rose up early in the morning. He took 12 loaves and a bottle of water, which he gave to Hagar. He sent her away with her son, and Hagar went with her son to the wilderness, and they dwelt in the wilderness of Paran with the inhabitants of the wilderness. And Ishmael was an archer, and he dwelt in the wilderness a long time. And he and his mother afterward went to the land of Egypt, and they dwelt there. And Hagar took a woman for her son from Egypt, and her name was Merivah. And the woman of Ishmael conceived and bore 4 sons and 2 daughters, and Ishmael and his mother and his women and children afterward went and returned to the wilderness. And they made themselves tents in the wilderness in which they dwelt, and they continued to travel, and then to rest monthly and yearly. And Elohim gave Ishmael flocks and herds and tents on account of Abraham his father, and the man increased in cattle. And Ishmael dwelt in deserts and in tents, traveling and resting for a long time, and he did not see the face of his father. And in some time after, Abraham said to Sarah, his woman, I will go and see my son Ishmael, for I have the desire to see him, for I have not seen him for a long time. And Abraham rode up upon one of his camels to the wilderness to seek his son Ishmael, for he had heard that he was dwelling in a tent, the wilderness with all belonging to him. And Abraham went to the wilderness, and he reached the tent of Ishmael about noon. And he asked after Ishmael, and he found the woman of Ishmael sitting in the tent with her children, African woman. And Ishmael, her man, and his mother were not with them. And Abraham asked the woman of Ishmael, saying, Where is Ishmael gone? And she said, He is gone to the field to hunt. And Abraham was still mounted upon the camel, for he would not get off to the ground, as he sworn to his woman Sarah that he would not get off from the camel. And Abraham said to Ishmael's woman, My daughter, give me a little water that I might drink, for I am fatigued from the journey. And Ishmael's woman answered and said to Abraham, we have neither water nor bread. And she continued sitting in the tent and did not notice Abraham, neither did she ask him who he was. But she was beating her children in the tent, and she was cursing them. And she also cursed her man Ishmael and reproached him. And Abraham heard the woman's words of Ishmael's woman to her children, and he was very angry and displeased. And Abraham called to the woman to come out to him from the tent. And the woman came and stood opposite to Abraham, and for Abraham was still mounted upon the camel. And Abraham said to Ishmael's woman, when your man Ishmael returns home, say these words to him. A very old man from the land of the Philistines came hither to speak to you, and thus was his appearance and figure. I did not ask him who he was, and seeing you were not here, he spoke unto me, and he said, when Ishmael your man returns, tell him, thus did this man say, when you come home, put away this nail of the tent, which you have placed here, and place another nail in its stead. And Abraham finished his instructions to the woman, and he turned and went off on the camel homeward. And after that, Ishmael came from the chase, he and his mother, and returned to the tent, and his woman spoke these words to him. A very old man from the land of the Philistines came to seek you, and thus was his appearance and figure. I did not ask him who he was, and seeing you were not at home, he said to me, when your man comes home, tell him, thus says the old man, put away the nail of the tent, which you have placed here, and place another nail in its stead. And Ishmael heard the words of his woman, and he knew that it was his father, and that his woman did not honor him. And Ishmael understood his father's word that he had spoken to his woman, and Ishmael hearkened to the voice of his father, and Ishmael cast off that woman, and she went away. And Ishmael afterward went to the land of Canaan. He took another woman, and he brought her to his tent, to the place where he then dwelt. And at the end of 3 years, Abraham said, I will go again and see Ishmael my son, for I have not seen him for a long time. And he rode upon his camel and went to the wilderness, and he reached the tent of Ishmael about noon. And he asked after Ishmael, and his woman came out of the tent, and she said, he is not here, my lord, for he has gone to the hunt in the fields, and to feed the camels. And the woman said to Abraham, turn in, my lord, into the tent. Eat a morsel of bread, for your soul must be wearied on account of the journey. And Abraham said to her, I will not stop, for I am in haste to continue my journey, but give me a little water to drink, for I have thirst. And the woman hastened and ran into the tent, and she brought out water and bread to Abraham, which she placed before him, and she urged him to eat. And he ate and drank, and his heart was comforted, and he blessed his son Ishmael. Blessed his son Ishmael on account of his wife. Again, on account of his wife. How his wife, look at how she treated him. And he finished his meal, and he blessed Yahuwah, and he said to Ishmael's woman, when Ishmael comes home, say these words to him. A very old man from the land of the Philistines came hither and asked after you, and you were not here. And I brought him out bread and water, and he ate and drank, and his heart was comforted. And he spoke these words to me, when Ishmael, your man, comes home, say unto him, the nail of the tent which you have is very good. Do not put it away from the tent. And Abraham finished commanding the woman, and he rode off to his home to the land of the Philistines. And when Ishmael came to his tent, his woman went forth to meet him with joy and a cheerful heart. And she said to him, an old man came here from the land of the Philistines, and thus was his appearance. And he asked after you, you were not here. So I brought out bread and water, and he ate and drank, and his heart was comforted. And he spoke these words to me, when Ishmael your man comes home, say to him, the nail of the tent which you have is very good. Do not put it away from the tent. And Ishmael knew that it was his father, and that his woman had honored him. And Yahuwah blessed Ishmael. That concludes our study on the book of Jasher, chapter 21. Please like this video, share this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to visit us online at www.kns-ministries.org. Be blessed on purpose.